Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks, featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackenberger, and our co-host, Jon Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting, with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
Hey everybody, Jon Orlando here, welcoming you back to Wise Kracks. And of course, when I say Wise Kracks, no Wise Kracks episode is complete without the man himself, Mr. Bill Krackenberger. What's going on, Crack?
Hey man, thanks for that nice intro. And yeah, we're back, and I'm back in the home studio. So here we go.
Yeah, I like it. It's sorry, it's good to see you back. Today we've got a fun show. We've got our good friend, Mr. Jake Ellenberger, joining us, famous UFC fighter and sports betting regular, as I should say. He loves the game just like we do. He's into following Mr. Crack Wins all the time.
He's the guy
that religiously.
He is, and he's done very well doing that, and he's also the guy that put us together. So
100%.
I met you from Jake, and it's been a great time, a great ride, and he's been a good friend, and so have you, Jon. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And Crack, we've got some good news. Vegas is opening up a little more. We're at 35% capacity, up from 25%. Gyms, fitness, health studios, the gaming floors, the racetracks, the bowling alleys, the pool halls, everything, 35%. And I want to say March 15th, they've already said the plan is to go to 50%. So we're coming back, Crack.
Yeah, 50% may see a difference. You're not going to see a big difference, 25 to 35. There's no one outside the casino with a little counter clicking, monitoring 25 to 35%. So it's just a number for the public and for the officials to think. But listen, it could have been at 50% now. No one would stop. I'm sorry, we're at 25%. You guys are going to have to go home. That's not happening anywhere in the city that I know of,
right.
Anyway. So listen, we had become a weekend town. We're nowhere near back to the levels we were pre-pandemic. So weekends are packed. Yet you go to a place like you said, you and I were talking off air, like Circa, and you could see the buzz down there, especially on the weekends. People want to see Circa. They want to go down there. It's the newest property in town. And I'm sure the places like that get a lot of foot traffic, like Caesar's Palace, maybe some of the MGM properties. I'm sure it's kind of the same, but yeah, you go to a place like the Sahara or even other places downtown, especially midweek, and there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on.
No, there isn't. Yeah, midweek, it's kind of like a ghost town. The only place I would say, and I know people probably think that they pay us to say this, but they absolutely don't. But I had dinner at Circa last Tuesday night with friends, and it felt like Vegas, man. It felt like Vegas on a Friday night. There's just an energy there. There's more people than I think any of the other casinos, but there's an energy. The way they laid out that property, it works.
It is. There is an energy when you go in there. You're right. I actually like going down there and getting that vibe and buzz. And plus, I know a lot of people there, so we're happy. And we're going to have Derek Stevens, the owner of the Circa, on this Wise Kracks podcast sooner or later. So he's already agreed when I seen him in person to come on. So look forward to it. That
would be great. Last weekend, Crack, was a big UFC weekend. It was, I got it. I picked 6 fights. I went 4-2, but I got the co-main and main incorrect, which really bugs me because those are the ones for bragging rights I like to always get right. But I think I told everybody, bet the house on Gilbert Burns, and you would have lost your house again. So I shouldn't use that phrase anymore, should I?
Bet the house and it's a lock are not in my repertoire, and they shouldn't be on yours either, Jon.
All right. I'm going to, I'm going to work. That one hurt. But our good friend, I don't know if you saw the fight or if you saw any clips, our good friend from the show, former Wise Kracks guest, Julian Marquez, got beat up for the first 2 rounds. It was his first fight back in almost 3 years. And his coach gave him a pep talk with very colorful words that I cannot say on the air here. In between the second and third rounds, James Krause gave him a pep talk and told Julian basically go out there and hit that guy really really hard with one word in the middle there that I can't say on air. But Julian did exactly that. And was able to get the guy down on the ground and ended up winning by submission. An incredible comeback for Julian Marquez. And post-fight, I don't know if you saw this, he, it's customary when a fighter wins the fight, they get interviewed by Joe Rogan after the fight, and then they usually call out whoever they want next. And that's the beginning of creating some buzz for their next fight. Julian's call out was a little different. He called out for Miley Cyrus to be his Valentine.
Oh, wow.
And she retweeted it and told him that if he were to shave an MC into his chest hair, that consider it done. She would be his date. And currently right now, I believe they've decided they're going to try to raise some money for charity and shave his chest, I think on live TV or something.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of a cool story.
Previous guest on Wise Kracks. He's a good guy, and I'm glad he got that third round submission. I know he was behind early in the fight. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. So good.
Yeah. So listen, all of you sports fans out there, it's time to remind you to head over to WSN.com, as Crack always does every week. It's the best site where you can go and become a winning player with all of the information that is on that site, strategy guides, and all kinds of good stuff on there. Isn't that right, Crack?
Yeah, now that the Super Bowl's over, I'll go to WSN more first, looking at some March Madness bonuses and stuff, because they're one-stop shopping there, so they got everything. So, and it's also one of the cool things I really like about doing the show. I get to promote a site that I actually use and can go there all the time. It's a gold mine just for advantage gamblers and regular guys alike. If you want to be an advantage gambler, it's got everything: the articles, links, like I said, the promos for the best online sports books, the bonus money they have going. Nothing like it anywhere. So if you haven't already, go check out WSN.com.
All right. And Crack, we've in the past, we explored some of Crack's top five. We did your top five movies, your TV shows. I think we did bands one time. For this week, I thought maybe we could make this a little more of an educational top five. And you could share with us, because clearly we know I need it, your top five money management rules. Can you shed some light on that for us? Sure.
A lot of people, they dream to become a professional sports bettor and not to punch a clock or have a boss. And I'm here to tell you that literally upwards of 99% fail. It's that simple. But I'm going to give you a couple simple rules to follow and help you move in the right direction anyway. And I always say to people to start just like I did. I was working two jobs back in the early 90s, and I started just sampling little sports betting things myself. And I met someone who changed my life, like I've said previously. So you start out small. I was still working two jobs. I was trying to make money betting sports. When I had enough of bankroll, I quit one of the jobs, and eventually I quit both jobs. So all right, number one, always have that allotted bankroll specifically for sports betting. This is literally put aside to build up a bankroll with. And then you can do a monthly evaluation, check your bankroll, write out your bad habits that cost you money. So just make sure that bankroll is allotted just for that. It's not for paying any bills. It's not for going out to eat even. It's just your sports betting / gambling bankroll.
And then is that, I don't mean to cut you up.
No, please do.
Is that something you would add to? Like, so you'd start with, let's say it's $500.
Yep.
Would you still add to that bankroll above and beyond if you're winning? Obviously, if you're winning, it's going to add to it. Right. And do all of the winnings stay in that bankroll?
Oh, definitely. Because now your goal is to bet more on each game. And that gets to my number two. So good question. Number two, you never bet more than, I always say 2%, but you can even go up to 3% of your bankroll, depending on what sport it is. So never really bet against above that 3% on any one event. So that's an example. If you have a $10,000 bankroll, I know it's a big starting bankroll, but if you have a $10,000 allotted bankroll for sports betting, your biggest bet should be $300, plain and simple. Now, as you say, as your bankroll increases, that means your bet size is going to increase. So when it gets to 20,000, you're betting 600 a game. So you want to get to a level where you're comfortable to actually one day take some money out of that bankroll, but you want to make sure for your other things, almost make it into a salary for yourself or whatever it may be, and you pay taxes on sports betting gambling wins. So that's what you want to do. It's a good question.
And then let me ask you this. So So 3% of your bankroll. So let use the 10,000. You'd bet 300 a game. Is there a cap to how many games someone should be betting? So like could you bet every single game on the NFL on an NFL Sunday as long as it's just $300 and
you're not going to bet NFL Sunday if you follow me, that's for sure. Because I don't even bet NFL Sundays. That's for the public. That's for the squares. That's for the suckers. But as far as college basketball goes, I like to give out 2 or 3 games a day on a busy day, but I'll bet 10, 20, 30 games, depending on the card, especially on a Saturday, I'm talking about. And you know what? People, the old school way of thinking was, oh man, this guy bets all these games. How can he win? You're betting all these games laying 11-10. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's not the way I look at it. It's not the way any sharp guy looks at it. The more volume that goes through the window, I have an advantage on this stuff. So the more volume that goes through the window, it becomes an X factor. That X factor becomes so much money. You can't get so much money down. You can't get 10,000 a game down. I mean, I could, but I understand you guys, working with bankroll restrictions. So you actually want to spread it out, and you actually want to spread it out amongst all my games or all your games, whatever it may be. And, because you're going to get some variance in there. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So you're going to get some variance that comes in there, and you want to be able to handle those bankroll swings of variance. In the end, the more volume, the more money you're going to make.
And you may not necessarily bet the entire 3%, right?
Oh no, some things are 1%.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have 1%, 2%. Yeah. So again, going into number 3 now here. Most of the bets that you make should have an edge. You compare what numbers you're getting to the closing number at the sharper sports books. If you're beating the closing number the majority of the time, then you're definitely on the right track. Now listen, there's a lot of manipulation out there too. So again, you have to know when you're being manipulated or not. You have to know the indicators in the market. So one thing good about Bill Krackenberger, I definitely have them all covered.
When you say manipulator, can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Overnight, if I want, let's say I have a team like, I'll use some major public teams, which, by the way, I really don't bet a lot of major public. You won't see me betting Michigan's, Dukes, and you won't see me betting those big teams like that too often anyway. Let's just use an old-fashioned giant rivalry, Duke, UNC. So overnight, let's say one of these syndicate groups, and when I say syndicate, sports betting syndicate groups, their side of the game they want is UNC, plus 2 points. Well, overnight, when you can only bet smaller amounts of money, but at the key sports books, that same syndicate that wants UNC plus 2 may actually bet Duke minus the 2, and all the other sports books will copy. And because you're only betting 2 or 3 sports books that control the market, everyone else copies off them. Nobody has in-house bookmakers. Circa does here in Vegas, but no one else does as far as college basketball. I shouldn't say that. Westgate does some stuff too. But so the syndicate group will actually bet the Duke minus the 2 overnight. The game will go to 3 everywhere, copied as 3 everywhere. And 6 a.m. in the morning, that same syndicate that laid the 2 for a grand or 2 will come back in the other way and take 20,000 plus 3 or something like that. So that's manipulating the market. It happens every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what's number 4?
Number 4, this is an important one, and this really crosses any kind of gambling. Never chase or overbet your losses. This is probably the number one reason why people fail trying to become a professional sports bettor. But I'll also use this as in casino too. I play some video poker, and I play advantage deals. They had they had a 20-time point deal recently. And, once the deal's over, let's say it's 4 to 6 p.m. Well, when 6 p.m. comes around, it's hard. The deal's over. You don't get 20-time points anymore, which is probably worth, by the way, about $50 an hour, $100 an hour. Now, by basic strategy and perfect play, you don't get that anymore. Now you're back to 1-time points, which that means the casino now has the edge on you again. But you're stuck $6,000. It's very hard for someone that came to the casino with $10,000 to say, the promotion's over. I lost $6,000. Let's go eat, sweetie. Very hard to do. But hey, that's the difference between a professional gambler and an advantage gambler and someone that wants to be an advantage gambler, going into that $4,000, blowing that, trying to chase their loss.
To that point, I'm going to use the P word real quick. Yep. I've had parlays where the first leg loses during, like, let's say a UFC card. It drives me nuts when I lose the first leg of a parlay. I will get into my car, I will go down the street, and I will redo that parlay. That is
You'll bet the second leg of the parlay with something else. Yeah, now you have 3 legs. Yeah, it's you're not alone though, John. It's most of the public. And listen, I've been there. I have been that person when I was a teenager. Betting like crazy and just trying to chase losses and stuff. And you learn from certain situations. And I don't want to say, but I probably had an allergy to money growing up back east, and I just wanted to always win, and I didn't want to be a loser for the day. It's a little bit of ego too with people; they don't want to be a loser.
100%.
Yeah.
And so, how do you? Like, I know you say like you got smarter and stuff, but like, how do you? Is it just? It's almost like quitting, like smoking, right? Like you just have to quit cold turkey on those bad habits. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that what
tomorrow's another day. I know I'm going to have edge on tomorrow's. Tomorrow's going to be another day with an edge. Why start pushing edges that you don't even know if they're edges? Now you're betting your own stuff. You're betting stuff with minute edges, small little edges. And now you're betting a giant amount of money on this when really you should be betting this a bigger amount. Not that you're going over that 2-3%, but you should be betting that full amount on something that is worth a lot more compared to betting. But just because you're betting something that probably has a no edge, probably has a negative edge. So
it becomes an emotional impulse buy, right?
Oh yeah. So let's get into number 5 here.
Okay,
so,
go for it.
This is an important one for me, and I kind of stress this all the time. You guys have all heard this before. Line shopping. You should have as many outs/sports books as you can handle. There will always be a little discrepancy in the numbers at each respectable book. I don't mean every single game, but you'll find a half a point there and there. Well, half points matter. So always check to make sure you're getting the best number available at any given time. And you should have all those square sports books, the ones that throw me out, like William Hill and Stations, and even the like the Coast properties. You should always have them in your repertoire because they're pushing those big favorites up a half a point here and there, and you're getting those extra half points. So here you go.
This is one that I have definitely learned so much on from doing the show with you in the last, whatever it's been, 5-6 months. Night and day difference. And I've heard you talk about it before, but it wasn't until I started to get the picture. But once we did that Atlantic City trip, I went to Atlantic City with you and I watched you do it in person, live, comparing all of those lines and how you would just lay off and have the discipline. It really is a big difference. Like, I know it sounds, I know I say that and you're probably like, yeah, dummy, that's what I've been saying. But sometimes it's like, we're visual, right? We need to see it, and seeing you apply that really changed things for me. And now I'm very mindful of it.
Cool. Yeah. I think you see me pass on a bet too. So if I'm supposed to lay 4 on a bet and the only thing is 4.5, even though I could buy it to -4, -20, I'm not going to lay 12 to 10 when I'm supposed to lay 11 to 10. It's a pass. Maybe the line will come back and you just go on to the next game, the next advantage.
Well, Crack, that's fantastic. That top 5 was the perfect segue for me to talk about the Crack Wins app, because you preach these tips to your members, and the Crack Wins app and the website, it all has all the betting guides, all the tips, all the strategies of everything you talk about on this show week in and week out and more. So guys at home watching, listening, please be sure to download the Crack Wins app on Apple. It's on Google, or just go to the website, crackwins.com. He's got everything you got. And just because football is over, let me remind you, he's not too shabby at picking college hoops, pro basketball, golf. This is the man right here. So download the Crack Wins app today and get in the winner's circle. What are you waiting on?
Yeah, we have
today.
That's a nice plug. Yeah, we're excited about it too. We've done really well. We've done really well this year in college basketball, especially. But golf matchups and stuff, we have stuff going on right until baseball, and then we start up baseball again. And I can't wait. Imagine I'm saying this, I can't wait till the NFL starts up again. We had that kind of a season in the NFL this year, so real excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Crack, off the air, you mentioned that there's going to be a March Madness contest.
Yes. We're really excited about that too. It's free to enter, thousands of dollars worth of prizes. It should be a lot of fun. I love the tournament, so this is a great way to get into, get the fans in, get my subscribers in, get the public in really to see what's up. Maybe we haven't really got narrowed down the details yet, but we're going to be as we get closer to this tournament here. We want some people to have some fun with us, and we look forward to it.
All right. Well, a little earlier today, we sat down with Mr. Jake Ellenberger from the UFC, and here's how our interview went with Jake. All right, Crack, it's that time to bring on our guest, and this one's a little extra special today because we've talked about this man multiple times on the show. He's a former Marine. He was a former UFC fighter, not just a UFC fighter. This guy was ranked as high as number 4 in the welterweight division. He fought a bunch of legends. He knocked out 19 out of his 31 wins, and I speak of the man that actually you and I would not be doing this show together if it wasn't for Mr. Jake Ellenberger, because he introduced us. What's going on, Jake?
Absolutely. Cool.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for the introduction, John.
You like that?
Quite an introduction there, yeah.
That was big.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either, Jake. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have met Jon. And so here we are. He's my co-host now on a show. I'm sure he's giving you a piece of the action and all the big money he's making. So
that's great. Cause, Jon and I, we've done the Super Bowl here every year. And I remember, I think it was maybe one of the first years we came out and met you for a quick minute. So yes, we've had some good years here.
Yeah.
Jake, who did you know first? Did you meet me first or Crack first? We were talking before we started, before you came on earlier, and we were wondering who did you meet first?
Yeah, I met Crack first. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I know. do some friends. I want to say, maybe 10 years ago.
At least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We
probably a little more. Yeah.
We have some mutual friends, and it could be over 10.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize that. Okay, so I thought I had seniority on the friend scale, but I see I don't. Okay. That's all right.
That's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, Jake. Couple questions here. First one, this is stuff I've never talked about with you or asked you anything about this. So this is going to be good for me and the viewers and listeners. So when you first got into this, what did your family think when you told them you wanted to make a career of ultimate fighting? And also a second part of the question is, how did you actually break in to the UFC back then? So how did you get in? What did your family think? What's up, Jake?
Yeah, I'd say when I first started, I started like most fighters. I was a fan first, and that was still kind of the early days. I was a big boxing fan as well. MMA was still new. I think, the Couture and Chuck Liddell kind of era really changed and evolved the game. But it's funny because when my brother Joe and I first started fighting, I was still living with my mom, and she kicked us out of the house. She said, "If you're going to do this, you're not going to live here." And
wow,
so it's funny. We laugh about it now, but she obviously didn't know a lot about the sport and the regulation and the commission. So it wasn't just like we're going to get in a cage fight with no rules. There was doctors, there was refs. It was a little bit more of some rules than she had even anticipated. But that was back in, I want to say 2004 or 5, right around there. But it's evolved so much. I've had a lot of incredible opportunities throughout my career. And even like Jon said, was up into the top 4, top 5 in the world at one point. So, I'm grateful though.
So what do? You have to go up different levels though, Jake? You start at a certain level, you kind of break in, or is it what you know, who you know, how you're fighting, or how does it actually work to break into a big sport like that, the UFC? Yeah, no, that's a great question, because I think like most things, who you know is important, especially with managers nowadays. Even when my first fight in the UFC was 2009, and it was one of those short notice opportunities. So, for me, it was a win-win. And originally, when I first started fighting, my goal was to get one fight in the UFC. It was to fight one time in the UFC. That was literally my goal when I started fighting. I was in college. I was like, if I could fight in the UFC, that would be my accomplishment. And here we are. Fast forward 10 years and 22 fights in the UFC. So it's awesome. Been quite a road. But to answer your question though, there's not really an easy answer. A lot of people, it comes down to who manages you, who you know, and the other one is obviously if you're just a showstopper, if you're incredibly fun to watch or have a personality, then they'll certainly draw interest. But
there's a lot of avenues to get in the UFC, but it's the competition's certainly getting harder and harder.
Cool.
And Jake, along those lines, if we're talking about when you first broke into the UFC, I know your first fight was against a now MMA legend, probably future Hall of Famer Carlos Condit, your first UFC fight that you took on, I want to say like a week's notice or something like that. You ended up losing a split decision, which I think you actually won that fight, but I'm probably biased. But my question to you is, when you obviously you're working to get into the UFC, you know, you dream about that moment. You take the fight on short notice because you've got the guts to do it. And when you come up a little short, how do you rebound from that? That's what's really impressive to me is the fighters like you that are able, all of you, you're always dealing with such adversity, right? Because half of the fighters lose on any given night, right? One's going to win, one's going to lose. How did you rebound from that loss and become the fighter that you ended up becoming in the UFC?
We had to, I mean, I'd say for starters, when I took the fight, the first fight with Condit, I think it was 10 days notice. But it was like I said, there was no downside. It was a win-win. It was like, and there's almost a satisfying feeling like you go in there with nothing to lose. You know, it's like whatever happens. And I mean, you could see that the first round, I was a little reckless, but almost got him out of there. But yeah, I mean, this sport, I think if you're in this sport specifically, I mean, it comes down to like, you have to have that drive and really that resilience. Cause like everything, they're going to have ups and downs and bad days and, you know, close losses, but yeah, I mean, resiliency, you see guys come back and it's got to be ingrained in you for sure. But I think that's one of those things too, like we were talking about earlier, is by the time you get to like the UFC kind of level, like that's getting through some challenges. It's kind of a prerequisite in a way.
And part two of my question would be, does it carry over into your personal life in terms of, because you face the adversity you face fighting week in and week out, has it made it easier to deal with the just normal stress that life brings?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I always joke with Mackenzie, my wife now, I'm like, man, fighting was easy. With three, you know, we have 3 kids, but I'm like, man, when I was just fighting, that was easy. You know, you train a couple times a day and but yeah, no, it is. Exactly. You just build that resiliency and like anything. I mean, life is hard, man. Every day, you know, you're gonna get knocked down. You're gonna have those good days and bad days, but you just got to keep moving forward. You're never out of the fight, John. You're never out of the fight.
Cool. So Jake, I have a question here about betting too. So this is going to be, you know, we're Wise Kracks. We're a betting show or a sports betting show. So we like to talk about this kind of stuff. Of course, we know the NFL is the most popular of all major sports. One of the main reasons is because people love to gamble on it, no matter what the commissioners say or whatever it may be, whether it be fantasy or just straight up betting on the outcome of a game. Do you think the UFC, especially being run from and most of the fights coming from Las Vegas, do you think it's similar? And also, do you think most people that are watching have a betting interest, you know, at least a minimum on the main event? So what do you think? Do you think there's a lot of betting in the UFC? And do you think that's the reason why, or one of the reasons why it's become so popular?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's continued to grow. And I mean, I'm like, I've learned a lot from you, Crack, that you probably don't really know, but I've learned a lot from you in the sense of like, I would rather be on the sportsbook side because, you know, people like to bet on the favorite. They like to bet on their favorite fighter or somebody they know. And I mean, fighting is hard to bet on in general. So, you know, if you get those real expensive, you know, Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, like those are kind of like, they're not even worth betting because they're such a big favorite. But it's definitely grown a lot to bet on fights. But, you know, if there's interest in it, you know, in a good underdog, you know, I'll play that. But yeah, I'm not a huge favorite kind of a.
That's good. That's good. I mean, yeah. You know, I say that, and yet I sat there and I'm a losing bettor betting against Floyd Mayweather. I've actually bet against him because I'm not going to lay 4 or 5, 6 to 1. Right. Though I did get a lot of it back, and I might be break even. I won so much money on the McGregor fight that I actually, when McGregor fought Floyd, that I actually may be even. But I bet against Floyd at least 6, 7, 8 times.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I thought like Mosley was going to have a good De La Hoya. I bet. I mean, which De La Hoya? These guys gave him good fights too. De La Hoya almost won that one. So,
Sure.
Crack,
anyway,
I ended up wearing a diaper because I bet against Mayweather.
Oh yeah, you said that.
Yeah,
Right?
terrible.
Wow, you had McGregor then, right?
Yeah, you literally lost your pants.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, even the sport, as it's grown in popularity, I think it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger to bet on. Of course, just like football, just like the Super Bowl. It's fun. Obviously, it's fun to bet. It's fun to bet who you like and who you think is going to win. But as you know, anything can happen in a fight, and the value is always in the dog. So.
Right. Crack, I don't know if you know this, and I'm curious if you ever bet on the tie in boxing. Jake Ellenberger, when Triple G fought Canelo the first time, Jake bet the tie and cashed in big.
Yeah, you couldn't have thought you won that though. I thought Triple G definitely beat him. I thought he beat him in both fights, the first two fights. I thought he beat him, but I mean the first one, oh God, I thought that Triple G definitely won that. So. You really probably did you even think they could announce a draw on that fight? Wow.
No, I agree with you. I think Triple G won that fight as well. But we know how boxing is. And we know how judging is. So even like I was talking to John, I was like, man, if it's a close fight, I'm going to bet the draw just because we know the kind of the corruption.
I've actually heard Dana White critique his judges. Also, so it's not only in boxing. I guess it's in the UFC too, right? There's some bad judging sometimes. I've heard him just as little as 3-4 months ago. I heard him do that. So there's a few really good ones that are very reliable, and I think all the commissions, California, Nevada, New York, and Connecticut, they all kind of share refs and judges, which is good. There's some sort of universal kind of rules there as far as who they want judging fights. But yeah, there's a handful of really good ones, I will say, and then there's a few that are really just really bad. Like,
do you care to name one in particular?
You don't want to do that.
Well, I'll tell you who I think is great. I think like Sal Diamato's great. I think there's
great ones. Yeah, good.
A handful of fantastic ones that can really unbiasedly judge MMA and boxing as well. But there's both sides of that coin for sure.
Wow.
I think educating the judges is probably the hardest task, right? The ones that come from boxing, that they don't understand the value of the takedown or control on the ground and things of that nature, right? That's the biggest problem with the judging?
Yeah, exactly. The grappling. And so I'll give you a couple examples. We were doing some critiquing of a fight. It was in Bellator, and it was a female fight. I think it was Kat Zingano. And there was a couple of really like dramatic transitions. And it was actually a really hard round to score, but the other female that she had fought had like landed. I think she had done a little bit more damage in like the minute or even 45 seconds she was in control, and it was a really tough one to judge. So there's a lot of those fights where there's some dramatic transitions where judges will only they'll base a whole round on like 1 minute or 30 seconds, which is a problem, but. It is getting better. I think it's moving in that right direction. But yeah, I mean, you really got to have a universal kind of training method to get judges all on the same page.
I'm surprised more former UFC fighters or just MMA fighters in general aren't judges or referees. I mean, I know Frank Trigg is a referee, but I can't even think of, is there any former fighters that are judges currently?
Not that I know of. There is a lot of judges that do train. I mean, like even refs too. Like Jason Herzog, he trains quite a bit. So there's a lot of guys who train and try to get a new perspective on that. But I agree. I think there should be more judges that have been former fighters. I agree.
Cool. Well, Mr. O, do you have any more questions for Jake? I'm good.
Yeah, Jake, I was wondering, now that NFL is over, I know you're no stranger to a sports bet, a sports wager here and there. Will you bet on basketball? Do you bet on NBA, or do you just wait till like baseball season, or do you just?
So I don't pretend to like. It's funny because I've never really bet a lot of basketball, to be honest. But when I started doing some of Crack's picks, I started playing with the Crack Wins app, and I just say that because he's been doing unbelievably well. And I think, I just think he's been very underrated. So yeah, for me personally, I don't pretend to know basketball. I don't, but somebody like Crack, he's had an incredible year. And
college basketball has been just ridiculous. So you even text me a couple times. You're like, I cannot believe what you're doing, in college basketball. Yeah, no, thanks. I appreciate that. And it's my best sport. So hopefully we continue it. March Madness coming up. Usually February is a very tough month to win. It gets tougher because people have seen these teams so many times. The media has seen it. There's so many write-ups. The bookmaker has seen it. Has seen these teams. I'm more better in the beginning of the season or even the middle of the season than late in the season. But there are some good opportunities, especially on you see the plays I play. I play, I'm going to say 80% underdog. So there's some good opportunities. First round of March Madness, second round, and even leading up to that. So I appreciate that. Yeah, and you know what? You did the right thing though, Jake. Too. I'll tell you right now. I always say this, but I do never get to say this on the show. It's almost like the definition of insanity. Someone does the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. There's so many gamblers out there that they want to be the ones that do their own work and come up with their own play. And if you win year after year or even, month after month, whatever it may be, well, then I understand. Keep on doing it. But there's such a small, minute percentage of people that do that, but yet they expect a different outcome. So why not follow someone like me that, me and my team do the research. We put 50 hours, 60 hours a week into this. Why most people are out there working their job, 9-to-5 job or whatever it may be.
Definitely. And even from my perspective, I mean, I know we've been friends for a while, but I think you're incredibly underrated. Like, I think, I don't pretend to know what I'm doing. So I'm certainly going to follow somebody who does. And it's been incredible since I started following you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. My guys jump on me sometimes and say, I'm kind of, I don't really use my Twitter account to promote what I do and what my record's been. So I really appreciate you saying that because, lately I have, because listen, there's so many guys on the internet that are up to bad things. Look, all these guys on Twitter that are, selling games under, fictitious anonymous names. I'm under Bill Krackenberger. I post and talk under William Krackenberger, Bill Krackenberger. That's who I am. I'm not hiding behind anything. And the best thing is, real simple, be transparent. I do a write-up every single week on my app, win or lose. Now, obviously it's been unbelievable for the last 6 months, but even a year and a half, 2 years, we've been just winning. We've never had a losing quarter, never mind losing year. But I have losing weeks. I write up about transparency. I write up, hey, we were 5-6 this week. We were 5-7, whatever it may be. And most people will not do that. They'll only talk about what they've done lately, what they've done the last 10 games, the last month, because they're on a hot streak. They'll never talk about overall what they've done the whole season. That's very important. I think it separates me from 99% of the field.
Definitely. And just to add to that, I think that there is a lot of, especially here in town, there's a lot of just people that are not, they're frauds really. They're just trying to get people to buy their picks that really don't know what they're doing, or maybe, they'll post just their winning ticket, and
of course
games, but
of course
I appreciate, I know for myself, I appreciate the transparency and something
awesome.
like that. So
thank you.
Jake, earlier in the show, Crack was talking about bankroll management and having a specific amount strictly for sports betting. Do you do the same thing?
I'll tell you, I do now. I used to not have any sort of, I guess, kind of structure or in place.
Like everybody. Yeah.
Right. So I think as I've gotten older and tried, be maybe a little bit more wiser, I've had to become more disciplined in a way. We've like most people, we like to bet on who we like and our team and whatever. But yeah, I think that's so incredibly important because, you can have these, you can take these small wins and losses, but if you take a big loss, and then I think, like you said on one of your shows, you're just trying to get back to even, which is the the wrong way to think, which is like how most people think, right?
It's the reason why the casinos are built. They want to let me just get even tonight playing blackjack, craps, and I'll get out of here, and I won't come back for a long time. It's the reason why these monstrosities are built. Sure, exactly.
Sure, but yeah, I think I just the discipline factor in betting, because it's such there's such an emotional tie to betting, but I think having that discipline is so critically important. But again, just I think for me, reading and hearing that from you, Crack, is really what's kind of set it in stone for me.
Awesome.
And Jake, one last thing before we let you go. The fans have spoken. Okay, I put out a little tweet asking for feedback. What would they like to ask Jake? The unanimous vote was that everyone wants Jake Ellenberger to create a TikTok account just to post father videos, dad life videos. Crack, I don't know if you've seen any of these funny videos that Jake puts randomly. He doesn't do it enough. He puts them on his Instagram story. They are hilarious. He posted one the other day of, I don't know if it was Jameson or Slade, was just standing like in a field peeing. It was incredible.
Oh, cool. How
How
old are your kids?
So I got a 5, 3, and 1. So the boys are 5 and 3. They like to fight and wrestle and give me gray hairs, but they're doing good.
Awesome. That's nice.
Well, Jake, thank you for stopping by and saying hi to us on Wise Kracks. Thank you for introducing me to Bill Krackomberger, and thanks for being such a great friend to both of us.
Yeah, Jake, years. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys' show's been getting better every episode. It's been fantastic. Fun to watch,
man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That was awesome having Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger. Did you know his nickname is the Juggernaut? You did. Of course you did. You've known him longer than I have, for God's sakes.
Cool.
Yeah, that was great.
He was great.
Crack, as we wrap up the show, I just want to tell you today is a very exciting day for me, Crack, because baseball spring training is underway. Pitchers and catchers reporting today. Does that excite you? Like it does?
I like baseball. I mean, I like baseball. I love going to games. Nothing better than hopping in the car and going to San Diego for a couple of days, popping down to Petco Park, where it's 72 year round, and grabbing a first row seat for $50 to a Padre game.
Now, that's interesting. You pick Padres. Does that mean you would not accompany me to a Dodger game?
Oh, no, I go to a Dodger game. I like San Diego more than LA, so I'm sorry about that, but I would do that.
Just as a city, as a place to be.
Sure.
All right. Are you a San Diego Zoo kind of guy too? Or
I've been there. I've done the zoo. I like it. Oh yeah. I grew up going to the Bronx Zoo all the time. I have relatives that have worked in the zoo for 40 years at the Bronx Zoo. I'm a zoo person. I like doing that. I love animals and stuff, and conservation and saving things, and trying to bring the species along the way and stuff. So
okay. Before we go, let's just continue the baseball talk for one more minute here. My Dodgers are 2-1 favorites to win it all. That is a silly futures bet, right? Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Okay. Here's one I would like to make. Here's a pick. I'm not picking against the Dodgers because I do think they will repeat. But if I had to pick a couple other teams that I think could have some value, I wanted to bounce these off of you. The New York Mets have absolutely loaded up with position players and pitching this offseason. They are currently, I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say they are 12-1 to win it all. And I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, that was my team growing up. Everyone rooted for the Yankees in my family, and I had to be the contrarian guy that rooted for the Mets, of course. So I'll tell you, you're not alone on this. I've heard from a couple sharp guys, but just search for that price. So search around looking for a futures price. I think you can get a little bit more than 12-1, but I did see it at 12-1 in some places. You're right. So that's a good future.
And same rule applies to future bets, no more than 3%.
Oh, yeah, maybe even less. You're getting back a big return. So maybe you do 1%. You want to keep that bankroll in action.
Keep it in action. And speaking of action, Crack, we're going to be back in action next week. And we've got a huge guest.
Giant guest next week. Yeah,
I won't say it just yet.
Yeah. All right.
But we will announce it on social media. Do you want to do that? Let's announce it.
It will be announced on my Twitter page, John's Twitter page, and any other platforms that you have there, John. So we're going to have a giant guest. People are going to like that.
Yeah. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Wise Kracks.
Thanks, guys.